अन्धस्य चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। भूतैर्महद्भिर्मा पुरो विभु निर्मायशेते यतमूषु पुरुषा भुङ्क्ते गुणान् षोडश षोडशात्मक सोऽलङ्कृशिष्ट भगवान् वचांसि मे। श्रीकृष्ण शरणं शरणागतं कथामृतं सततपीवृतं भक्तिवेदान्तमार्गपन्थनं सर्वलोकऋषिदेव। So we're reading from Canto 1, Chapter 8, titled Prayers of Queen Kunti and Parīkṣit saved. And we are discussing text 18 yesterday on how Srimati Kunti Devi has started offering her heartfelt prayers in full ecstasy. She is overwhelmed by emotions of affection, that how kind the Lord has been. They have gone through various tribulations, and those tribulations she will be describing in later on verses. And just now, Krishna has saved their 5 sons and also the unborn child in the womb of Uttara. And although she is the aunt of Krishna, so by the moral conduct, it is Krishna who should be bowing down before Kunti Maharani. But nonetheless, Kunti Maharani is so overwhelmed with love, affection, and seeing the compassion of Krishna, and seeing how merciful Krishna is upon her, her children, and her family, that she cannot check herself, and she transgresses the etiquette, and she actually pays obeisances to the Lord, although she is like a mother to Krishna. She is Krishna's aunt. So she says, Namasye Purusham Tvadyam. Namasye, bowing down. We discussed how important, integral part of bhakti is this process of bowing down. Once Brahmananda was not bowing down as Srila Prabhupada was exclaiming the Prema Dhvani, Om Vishnupada Paramhams Parivrajacharya. As soon as we hear this, we should bow down just. So Prabhupada told him, bow down. Brahmananda said, I don't feel like bowing down. And Prabhupada said, bow down and you'll feel like bowing down. Similarly, when we don't feel like chanting, we should just chant and then we'll feel like chanting. When we don't feel like doing deity worship, we just do deity worship and we'll feel like doing deity worship. So bowing down is very important. It's acceptance of the supremacy of the Lord and its expression that we submit to the Lord. And it is an exhibition of that we really are humble. Purusham Tvadyam, she addresses Krishna as Adyam, the original Purusha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he is no ordinary. He is Ishwaram Prakrite Param. He is greater than all the demigods who are affected by Prakriti. Prakriti means the modes of nature. All the great demigods, whether it be Yam, Brahma, Varunindra, Rudra, Maruta, they're all affected by the modes of nature. But Krishna is Param Prakritehe. He is not affected by the modes of nature, and he is the original personality of Godhead. And he is inconceivable, alakshyam, invisible, sarvabhutanam, even though antar bahir avastitam, even though he's situated inside and he's outside. So Kunti Maharani, in her devotion, expresses the various contradictions about Krishna as well. She's not a great philosopher, but her prayers are imbued with humility, and yet the super, you can say, super absolute truth, or the principles of the highest principles of the existence of the Lord and his dealing with his devotees, and how inconceivable his ways are, which are full of contradiction. So Bahir, he protected the Pandavas outside, and Antaha, he protected Parīkṣit Maharaj inside. Krishna is situated both inside and outside. Antar Bahir Avasthitam. So let's recite these 5 verses. Any devotees who have memorized or have practiced would like to recite the first 5 verses of this chapter.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I can try.
Yes, Mataji.
Kunti Uvacha Namaste Purusham Tvadyam Ishwaram Prakritehi Param Alaksham Sarvabhutanam Antarbahiravastitam Maya Javanika Channam Ajnadhokshajamavyayam Na Lakshyase Murdisha Nato Natyadharo Yatha Tatha Paramhamsanam Muninam Amala Atmanam Bhakti Yoga Vidhanartham Katham Pashyemahi Sriyaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandigopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namaha Pankajnabhaya Namaha Pankajmaline Namaha Pankajnetraya Namaste Pankajangraye. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Very nicely recited. So we'll go to text number 19. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam diraye. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Maya javanika channam magnadhokshajamavyayam na lakshyase mudhadrisha nato natyadharo yatha. Translation. Being beyond the range of limited sense perception, you are the eternally irreproachable factor covered by the curtain of deluding energy. You are invisible to the foolish observer, exactly as an actor dressed as a player is not recognized. Word to word, Maya, deluding, Javanika, a curtain, Achanam, covered by, Agna, ignorant, Adhokshajam, beyond the range of material conception, transcendental, Avyayam, irreproachable, not Lakshyase, observed, Mudhadrisha, by the foolish observer, Nataha, artist, Natyadharaha, dressed as a player, Yatha, as. Translation again. Being beyond the range of limited sense perception, you are eternally irreproachable factor covered by the curtain of deluding energy. You are invisible to the foolish observer, exactly as an actor dressed as a player is not recognized. So basically, it is very difficult to understand Krishna. No one can actually know Krishna to the fullest extent. What to speak of fullest extent, no one actually understands Krishna even a little bit. People just think he's a historical figure. And let's read the purport. The theme that Prabhupada gives in Kunti Maharani's prayers, the book, is beyond the senses. This is the theme of this verse. Would anyone like to read the purport, please?
I can read, Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji.
In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Sri Krishna affirms that less intelligent persons mistake him to be an ordinary man like us, and thus they deride him. The same is confirmed herein by Queen Kunti. The less intelligent persons are those who rebel against the authority of the Lord. Such persons are known as asuras. The asuras cannot recognize the Lord's authority. When the Lord himself appears amongst us as Ram, Narsimha, Varaha, or in his original form as Krishna, he performs many wonderful acts which are humanly impossible. As we shall find in the 10th canto of this great literature, Lord Sri Krishna exhibited his humanly impossible activities even from the days of his lying on the lap of his mother. He killed the Putna witch, although she smeared her breast with poison just to kill the Lord. The Lord sucked her breast like a natural baby, and he sucked out her very life also. Similarly, he lifted the Govardhan hill just as a boy picks up a frog's umbrella and stood several days continuously just to give protection to the residents of Vrindavan. These are some of the superhuman activities of the Lord described in the authoritative Vedic literatures like the Puranas, Itihasas, histories, and Upanishads. He has delivered wonderful instructions in the shape of the Bhagavad Gita. He has shown marvelous capacities as a hero, as a householder, as a teacher, and as a renouncer. He is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by such authoritative personalities as Vyasa Devala, Ashita, Narad, Madhava, Shankara, Ramanuja, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and all of the other authorities of the line. He himself has declared as much in many places of the authentic literature. And yet, there is a class of men with demoniac mentality who are always reluctant to accept the Lord as the supreme absolute truth. This is partially due to their poor fund of knowledge and partially due to their stubborn obstinacy, which results from various misdeeds in the past and present. Such persons could not recognize Lord Sri Krishna even when he was present before them. Another difficulty is that those who depend more on their imperfect senses cannot realize him as the Supreme Lord. Such persons are like the modern scientist. They want to know everything by their experimental knowledge. But it is not possible to know the Supreme Person by imperfect experimental knowledge. He is
Thank you,
described here.
It's a long paper, so we'll just stop there and discuss.
Sure.
So a number of points Prabhupada has mentioned in the paper. So firstly, he says that less intelligent people derive him to be an ordinary man. And this is the 9th chapter, 12th verse of Bhagavad Gita, I believe, where Krishna says, Avajananti mam mudha. The foolish, the fools, the rascals, the mudhas, avajananti, they cannot know me. Mam mudha. Manusam tanum asritam. When I descend in this form, which is like human, they actually deride me. Manusim tanum asritam param bhavam majananto. They cannot know my superior nature, param bhavam, that mama mama bhut mama avyayam ishvaram, that I am inexhaustible Supreme Lord. And Prabhupada gives various examples of how Krishna in his various incarnations comes. And then Srila Prabhupada cites that all the acharyas, they accept Krishna. And these Arjuna also says in Bhagavad Gita that ahustvam rishya sarve, that all the rishis say this about you, that you are the Supreme Lord. Ahustvam rishya sarve, deva rishi naradastatha, deva rishi narada, asita rishi, and devala rishi, and Vyasadev himself. And then Arjuna says, Swayam Chaiva Bravisive, and you yourself are declaring that you are the Supreme Person before me now. And the beauty of Arjuna is that he accepts everything that Krishna has said without rejecting anything else. He says, Sarvam Vritam Item Manye, that all that you have spoken, Krishna, I accept that to be truth. Sarvam etad ritam manye yan mam vadasi Keshava. O Keshava, whatever you have said, I accept that as truth. Nahi te bhagavan bhaktim pitur devanadhanava. No one can know of your personality of Godhead, know the host of demigods, know even the demons. Why? Because Krishna, as described by Kunti Maharani here, is Maya Javanika Channam, is covered by a deluding, glaring curtain of Maya. And those who are Agna also means those who rely on their blunt senses, as Srila Prabhupada in part of the paper says here, that Krishna cannot be understood by the blunt senses or cannot be perceived by the blunt senses. Aksha means eyes, and Aksha Adi means eyes plus other senses. So people say that, show me God. If you can't show me God, I don't believe you. But they forget that Krishna cannot come in front of us when we are not qualified. And who are we to demand that Krishna comes? Therefore, one of Krishna's name is Adhokshajaha or Adhokshaje, as it says here in this verse. Maya Javanika Channam Agna Adhokshajam Avyayam. Avyayam means that he is irreproachable. Very nicely, Srila Prabhupada translates this word, irreproachable. Irreproachable means that Krishna actually cannot be blamed. It comes from the root of this English word, irreproachable, has its origins in French language. So reproacha means to blame. And when we add the prefix ir, it means that he cannot be blamed, or such a person cannot be blamed. Basically, such a person is faultless. Everyone in this world has faults, but Krishna is faultless. Nonetheless, living entities try to find fault in Krishna. They try to blame Krishna for many things. Oh, he created Mahabharata war. Oh, how could he kill, so many people in the battle? How come he, kidnapped Rukmani when she was about to be married? And so and so. There are various accusations that are held towards Krishna. But if one really knows the position of Krishna, that his character is spotless, and only a devotee can recognize this, and Rukmani Devi recognizes this. She says that Katva Mukunda Mahati Kulashila Rupam, that your Shila means character, is spotless. Vidyavayor Dravinadama Viratma Tulyam, your knowledge is impeccable. Vayor, you are ever youthful. Dravina, you are the wealthiest. And all this is only comparable with one person, and that one person is you, Atma Tulyam. So one rule we have to write in our life is we cannot blame Krishna. Krishna is irreproachable. And when Krishna is irreproachable, and he is adhokshaja, he can only be experienced not by our blunt senses. Then the question is, how can we experience him? Because we have blunt senses, we experience everything via blunt senses. Any devotees would like to give an answer to this question?
By revelation, Prabhu?
Yes, by revelation, Krishna reveals himself. But how and when is he inclined to reveal himself? What is the process?
When they come in association of devotees.
When we come in association of devotees, yes, anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam, then dadami buddhi yogam, then he gives intelligence.
Yes, very nice. Tesham satata yuktanam, when we constantly engage in worshipping him. And
Chanting, Prabhu?
Yes, very good, Prabhuji. Chanting. All these answers are correct answers. Chanting. Anyone else?
When one is not surrendered, he will not approach the point. It says at text 18, it says, he reserves the right not to be exposed to persons who are not surrendered souls. So unless you're a surrendered soul, it's not going to be approachable or visible.
Yeah. That's correct. So this surrender process is very important. So how one is, one becomes inclined to surrender.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Is it
Yes.
Sadata Kirtayanto Mam Bhakti Radokshaje?
Sorry, what was that?
Sadata Kirtayanto Mam Bhakti Radokshaje. I like do the kirtan.
Yes. Savay pumsam paro dharma yato bhakti radokshaje. So adhokshaje name here is also mentioned. So the yes, Rajdeepika Mataji, you had a point?
No, Prabhu. But what I was thinking is when one becomes surrendered, is one actually understands that how magnanimous, how supreme the Lord is, and how minute we are, and then the surrender comes with that understanding, I believe.
No, that's very good. So somehow or the other, one has to follow this process of sevan mukhe hijivado swayam eva spurati adaha, that with service attitude, starting with the tongue, utterance of his name, and swayam eva spurati ada, and swayam, then he will reveal himself. To some extent, he will reveal himself. So therefore, when we are sitting in kirtan or when we are chanting our rounds, and especially it cannot be emphasized that if we chant our rounds in the morning, it is said that at that time, our spiritual energies are at the highest level, and we are able to perceive Krishna through sound vibration. In Bhāgavatam, very nicely it is said, Adrashta Rupo Vicharasi Urusvanaha. So Krishna is Adrashta. We cannot perceive him. Rupo, his form is Adrashta. However, he wanders in the sound vibration. So if we are able to vibrate his names and hear his names, then he who is inconceivable, achintya, we can actually perceive him. to that, to some extent, in that sound vibration. Therefore, from the fourth verse onwards, Nimanini just chants Krishna's names and pays obeisances onto him. So this process of chanting and bowing down before him is making surrendered devotees. Many of you mentioned the word surrendered. Yes, surrendered devotees experience him and approach the Lord, although he is not approachable, and also he is irreproachable. Any questions or comments, Prabhuji's, Mataji's?
Prabhuji, just one comment. Mother Kunti was present before him. At that time, in fact, the whole scenario was that everyone was, there was alaksham in the sense that he was seen by everyone at that time. He was visible at the time to all of them. How is that Mother Kunti is now saying there is alaksham or avyayam?
Yes, very, very good question, Prabhuji. So, what she is basically saying, two things we can understand. Firstly, that although Krishna is visible to everyone here, they don't see him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They don't see him as Ishwaram Prakrute Param, beyond the material nature. You know, Duryodhana at one point in Mahabharata, when Bhishma promised that he'll kill Pandavas with the 5 arrows, and Krishna came to know about it, and Krishna sent Arjuna to ask those 5 arrows from Duryodhana. And Duryodhana wondered, how come Krishna knew it? Perhaps he's the Supreme Lord. And immediately Duryodhana, being Duryodhana, just dismissed that idea. No, he may be a great mystic, but he cannot be the Supreme Lord. So, as Supreme Lord, no one, even at that time, hardly, only few people, handful of people knew him to be Supreme Lord. And so, seeing Krishna, Kunti Maharani here is seeing Krishna as Supreme Lord. She's not seeing him as the nephew, as her nephew. And she understands this point that the Lord is inconceivable. Therefore, the first 3 prayers of Kunti Maharani, if we really study it in detail, it is about her humility. That she, basically is stating of her lack of qualification, that Krishna cannot be known. And I'm not qualified to know Krishna, especially in the 3rd verse. She says, Katham Pashyema Striyaha. When the great munis, the great yogis and the demigods, they cannot approach Krishna, then I, being a woman, how can I approach Krishna? So these prayers are of great humility, but at the same time, Kunti Maharani states the highest principles of truth about Krishna. And that's why Prabhupada, tells us all that Kunti Maharani is the most intelligent woman of her time. Is that okay, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
So that verse, Ataha Shri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grayam indriyai. So with the indriyai, we try to experience everything, but Shri Krishna's name, etc., cannot be understood or experienced by our blunt senses. However, with the attitude of service, starting with mukhe, he jivvado, starting with tongue, he makes himself experience adaha to the devotees. So in humility, if we simply pray to the Lord's mercy, that Krishna, please connect my consciousness to you. I want to always be conscious of you, and just call out his names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare
Rama, Rama, Rama,
Hare Hare. And we will always be conscious of Krishna. And the Ketan, deluding Ketan of Maya will not act upon us. Krishna will be very merciful. For that to happen, though, we have to find value that everything is connected to Krishna and everything should be used for Krishna. That is actually the definition of Maya. The Maya definition is when we find value in anything, but that value is without connection with Krishna. This is the seed base of Bhagavatam, second seed base of Bhagavatam, where Krishna says, Rite artham yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta cha atmani. If you find anything of value in this world, but you cannot relate or connect that thing to me, then tad vidyad atmano mayam. Yatha bhaso yatha tamaha. Know that as my deluding, illusory energy, which has no actual existence. It's like seeing darkness. It's like seeing reflection in a darkness. Yatha bhaso yatha tamaha. We'll continue reading this nice paper. It's a long paper tomorrow. In the meantime, I'd request devotees to try to memorize over the next few days these 5 verses at least, and we'll try to memorize the whole prayers. But let's start off with these 5 verses first, and word to word, that includes word to word meanings as well. Jai Granthra Srīmad Bhāgavatam ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Have a wonderful Krishna conscious day, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.